In the heart of Dixie where the eagles fly, land of the brave where the bullets don't lie. We fought for our freedom with guns by our side. Red, white, and blue, our southern pride. Raise the flag high, let freedom ring from the rolling mountains to the flatlands. We sing, no one can take our rights. Our Second Amendment will defend our land. With every bullet we stand. We were born in the USA, land of the free. With guns in our hands, we'll forever be. Southern blood runs deep through our veins. We'll stand tall for America till the end of our days.
Well, hey there. I'm Sully, and as always, welcome into the Gun Club. Tonight, we're going to be going over a very weird case. It's a kind of a detailed case. It's been going on since 2018. I've been following it on and off since about 2023, late 2023. And when we get into what all happened with it, you'll see why I've been following it. And it's been a little bit personal to me for a lot of reasons, and we'll get into that. I didn't personally know anyone involved or know any of the people involved, but some of the companies involved I did. And there's a lot going on in this case. And this is something that really threw a lot of wild stuff out there in the ether. The 2A community has sort of blown up over this, and you can find a lot of stuff out there regarding this case. There's going to be a bunch of information I'm going to share, people you can go follow. If you don't want to listen to my opinion, hey, that's cool. Listen to theirs. I'm good with it. This case started out, and really simply, it's what we're going to call the Kayla Giles case. Kayla is a young lady who was involved in a use of force event. We'll just say that. We'll get into it a little bit more here in a second. As we get into this, you'll see how contorted this became, and definitely kind of a weird one. While we're waiting for people to file in, want to say, hey, sorry I haven't been around in a while. Mary, I see you there. Hey, it's great to be back. Definitely glad to be here. Been kind of busy. The real world has kicked my butt recently. I've been running about 90 to 80 hours a week on shift. And so as a result of that, haven't had much time to deal with content, deal with gun club issues or anything else. Hopefully we'll be getting a lot more back. Have worked on some pre-recorded stuff, maybe posting some pre-recorded videos that y'all can watch and enjoy. That way I can have a day off and I can record several videos and try to space them out for y'all. I appreciate y'all bearing with me as we sort of settle into my new life, so to speak, or back into my old life as a 911 street paramedic, because, well, somehow working 24, 36, 48 hours in a clip kind of prevents me from doing a lot of content work here. Sorry about that. But, okay, so let's get into Kayla Giles and her case. Now, as I stated, this one actually started back in 2018. It started simple enough. It was I'm going to take my face off the screen here so we can sort of get my ugly mug at the face and you can actually see what's going on. Let's see here if I can do this. Trying to kick my camera down for a second here. Yeah. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so Miss Kayla Giles meets her estranged husband, Thomas Cote Jr., so he could pick up her 2 children from a previous marriage and take them to a birthday party for their 2-year-old daughter. So the 7 and the 5-year-old were hers from a previous marriage or from a previous relationship. Don't know if it was a marriage or not, but they had a 2-year-old together. He was having a birthday party for the 2-year-old daughter and had invited the older girls. Simple enough. He initially suggested they meet at the police station. However, she suggested they meet at a local Walmart. It was more convenient for her. So they did that. They met at the Walmart parking lot in Alexandria, Louisiana. After the exchange had taken place, the girls were already in his car. The situation escalated, and eventually Miss Giles ends up shooting Mr. Cote in the chest. He passed away on the scene. He took a round to the heart at close range from a Ruger 380. So, this is kind of a wild adventure. The kids are safe, fortunately. None of them were injured, although the 7-year-old did witness this, so that was kind of a little bit of a bad one on that. But as a general rule of thumb, we look at what's going on, and hey, there it is. So what happens? I mean, what really happened? Well, we'll dig in a little deeper. There's a history with this couple. Kayla and Mr. Cote were in the middle of a very contentious divorce. They had separated earlier in 2018, around February or March, after nearly 4 years of marriage, and he had filed for divorce June 8th of 2018. He had filed. She had left, he had filed. On August 20th of 2018, the court ruled that they should have shared custody of the children, of the 2-year-old. Nothing regarding the other one. Cote then asked for an additional hearing and wanted that to get full custody, claiming that Giles had been abusive to him at a custody exchange in May, claimed she had slapped him across the face. Now, it was a slap across the face, which, yes, is abuse, but it was nothing like she had a weapon or she had done anything. There was a slap across the face that left a red mark, according to everything I've read in all the police reports. She, on September 7th, was served with the paperwork for that case that was filed August 28th. So, we've got quite a custody battle going on here. These people are definitely in the escalating world. So, as we go through, how does this play out that day? Well, on the 18th, the custody exchange had been completed. The 2-year-old was in his vehicle safely. She had returned back to her vehicle, Dodge Durango, and closed the door. Cote then approached her vehicle, and he gripped and opened the door of her car. At which point she turned, firing one shot, striking him in the chest. As I said before, it was shot through the heart, and, well, EMS, there wasn't a lot they could do. Folks, there could have been a trauma surgeon sitting on the tailboard of his truck. There wasn't a lot that could be done. Unfortunately, that 380 round sealed his fate. So, where are we at with this? This is getting kind of wild, so let's go a little further down into the rabbit hole. She waits on scene for the police to arrive. Claims the shooting was self-defense. She states she was in fear of her life as he was coming into her car. She was initially charged with first-degree murder. They dropped that and eventually charged her with second-degree murder. Now, in the interest of fairness, I need to mention she was also subsequently charged with obstruction of justice for certain actions taken in the aftermath of the shooting. Now, what happened afterward, what she did afterward, really has zero bearing on the moment at which she pulled the trigger. And if you know, when we talk about what is self-defense, the test I love to use is the wonderful 5 elements as put out by Mr. Andrew Branca. And as you all know, I'll always refer you to his book, Law of Self-Defense. It's a free book you can get on his site. All you got to do is pay shipping. Andrew Branca is an attorney. He does not directly represent criminal defendants. However, he does come in as the sanctified, qualified, highly respected national expert, the person who quite literally wrote the book on the law of self-defense. I have it, keep it on my bookshelf right above the desk, and I quite frankly have it in all my classrooms whenever I teach firearms. I urge people to glance at it, look at it, write down the information, and go to his website. So we're going to use his, evaluation process based on his 5 elements. First is innocence. You've got to be innocent in the situation. For example, if you go in to rob a convenience store and you get shot, or the person resists and you shoot them, you can't say, well, it was self-defense. He was swinging a baseball bat at me. Yeah, you were not innocent in that situation. Imminence. You have to be responding to an imminent threat. Somebody says, well, I'm going home to get a gun and come back. You can't shoot them as they're walking away. Now, if they come back with a weapon, that's an imminent threat. Proportionality. Your response has to be proportional. If a 5-year-old is coming at you with a wiffle ball bat saying, I'm going to get you, probably not proportional response to exercise deadly force. It has to be a deadly force response to a deadly force threat. You've got to be proportional. Avoidance. Now, avoidance comes into some cases. It really doesn't come into this. In some states, they want you to try to avoid using deadly force. However, Louisiana is a stand your ground state, meaning as long as you are lawfully where you have a right to be, parking lot of Walmart, she's got a lawful right to be there, sitting in her car, lawful right to be there, she has no requirement to avoid the threat. The threat was coming to her. She was not approaching his vehicle. Now, the last one needs to be reasonableness. And this is, were your actions what a reasonable person would believe? And that sort of comes in as an overarching in a lot of cases, because we take my scenarios I gave. The 5-year-old with a wiffle ball bat. Did you reasonably believe you were in fear of death or great bodily harm? Now, we look at this one. Proportionality. Mr. Cote was not armed. No one has said he is armed. Both sides have agreed on that. However, Mr. Cote was a 6 foot tall, 170 something pound MMA fighter. Now, amateur MMA fighter, but an MMA fighter. Kayla was a smaller, lighter female. Sorry, ladies, calling it like I see it. So, could it be reasonable that she would be in fear of death or great bodily harm, especially when we've got a situation that has been escalating? Now, there's been allegations of physical violence on both sides. His allegations are a little bit better documented, but there's also allegations on both sides of this. Besides, even without that, even without the history, he is opening the door into her vehicle. And she said she was in fear. He had the kids. What is he doing coming over to her vehicle? We don't know. I don't know. I can't read his mind, unfortunately. The only way we could really get a statement from him is, I guess, someone break out the Ouija board or call Madame Cleo. And I'm not trying to make light of the fact that the man lost his life, but on the other side of the coin, it's a very difficult situation. So, we look at, again, the 5 elements by Andrew Branca. Was she innocent? For what we know, yes. Nothing has proven that she's not. Was it an imminent threat? Ladies, if you're sitting in your car and a man opens your door, who is a MMA fighter, again, amateur, but 6 foot, 170 pounds, do you feel he could present an imminent threat to your safety or well-being? I think it's potential, yeah. Proportionality. Could she be in fear of death or great bodily harm? Well, I looked at Mr. Cote's record, and he actually has one fight listed as a actual certified MMA fighter, and he won it by choking his opponent out. Again, if that's standing in your doorway of your car and you're sitting there, yeah, avoidance doesn't apply because she has no reason to have to avoid what's coming to her car. And reasonableness, it seems to me. Now, Branca did a video on this. You can check out his channel. He pretty much agreed with me on it. Yeah, he said, yeah, it seems reasonable, proportional to me. He agreed with it. I agree with it. So it seems like it should be possible to be self-defense. Now, USCCA gets in the situation. Miss Giles, Kayla, was a platinum member of USCCA, the United States Concealed Carry Association. This, in theory, would provide her up to $150,000 towards her legal fees. They have a deal where, as a member of USCCA, they've got different levels, and as a platinum member, they have a company they contract with. Delta Defense is an insurance company, provides use of force insurance. Now, USCCA provided the first 50K, actually Delta Defense provided the first 50,000 towards her defense and retained an experienced self-defense attorney. So, as we look at this here, and again, I'm going to close my camera off, this attorney states that he feels the shooting was defensible as self-defense. He actually presented this to the judge. And when I say presented it to the judge, he went to the judge, and in order to argue self-defense in a situation like this, which is an affirmative defense, we'll talk about that in a minute, you have to show at least some evidence of each of those 5 elements, or in this case 4, because avoidance is sort of out. So what did he show? We'll go back to Bronca's law here. Innocence. She was just there to drop off the kids. Imminence. There he was, towering over her at the doorway. Proportionality. His MMA record, his size, strength disparity. Reasonableness. If she reasonably felt, and she's stating she did, and did to the police many times, that she felt she was in fear of death or great bodily harm. Now, in order to argue self-defense, you have to present these to the judge and explain at least that there is some evidence for each of the 5, or actually in this case 4, because avoidance doesn't really count, that these play a role. Well, again, as we look at this, Giles got the first 50K towards her self-defense from Delta Defense. And the judge said, yes, I will allow the self-defense argument and the jury instructions on self-defense into this case. So this seems pretty much like it's going the way anyone would think it was going. Yeah. Mary, I appreciate this. Come in. Yes, please like, share, comment. Helps my channel grow. Although my name's not Sally, but you can call me Sally. Shirley, don't call me Shirley, but hey. And, I definitely think it's an imminent threat. Even as a 6'2", 270-pound male, to me, if you're sitting down in your car and someone is pulling your door open and they get it open, you are back to the wall kind of thing. You're not going to hop over the center console of a Dodge Durango, at least I'm sure as hell not. You're not going to be able to deal with a lot of these things. So what are we looking at? Well, to me, I think we're looking at something that would definitely be a very legit argument for self-defense. The judge said so. Now, Kayla thinks so. Maybe. Her attorney thinks so, who's looking at all the paperwork. Well, okay, that's a little bit higher bar. But the judge says so? Yeah. Seems to me like this is a self-defense claim. And as a self-defense claim, Kayla would be entitled to $150,000 in legal expenses from her membership with USCCA, i.e. Delta Defense. This is where it kind of goes sideways. Now, USCCA, not actually them, but the insurance company that they contract with, decided that it wasn't self-defense. And they terminated the coverage in the middle of everything. Wait a minute, what happened? She had a membership with USCCA in good standing. That's not been argued. They have a contract with this insurance company, I believe Delta Defense. I'm not 100% sure, but that's who it was when I was a member of USCCA since 2017. This came out and things got kind of crazy. They got heat online like there was no tomorrow. Their heat came from not only Andrew Bronca at Law of Self-Defense, Heavy Duty Country, who had been a USCCA affiliate and presented their stuff on his channel for years, the Attorneys for Freedom, Attorneys on Retainer, they run a self-defense, legal defense program, and many, many more. These were just the big ones right here. Bronca, went out pretty well, cooked them online, video wise. Heavy Duty Country, Dan over there, he cooked them hard. Attorneys for Freedom, Attorneys on Retainer, they did a lot of work. They even interviewed Miss Giles on their channel. You can check out Attorneys for Freedom or Attorneys on Retainer. Just look Giles. They interviewed her afterwards about what happened. How did this happen? Not so much what happened with the shooting, but what happened with the case. They had gotten the first 50,000. She had an attorney. They were all working on her case. All of a sudden, she gets a letter. Nope, this isn't self-defense. The insurance company said they're not paying anymore. Tough luck, which resulted in her attorney pulling out. She couldn't afford to keep paying him. She got other attorneys, which I think have done a decent job, but definitely not the high dollar one that USCCA was paying for. So, kind of an interesting situation there. Yeah, I know, spell check. Yep, we're going to make it Sully, but that's okay. We're good with that. Yeah. Folks, if you haven't, please share this out, because this one's going to be an interesting one. And I'm bringing this up. I want to say this, and I have, before I go any further here, let's see here. I personally have been a USCCA member for many, many years. Or I should say had been. I have been a USCCA instructor for several years. I taught the concealed carry, self-defense, handgun classes, countering the mass shooter. I even took and taught their emergency first aid fundamentals. Not a bad class, but okay. It's a first aid class. These classes, I think, were decent. I've taken a bunch of their online classes. They have some great online stuff and a lot of great training. They've got an incredible online training platform. But this case really made me wonder. This case made me wonder, heaven forbid, if you're in that situation in the worst moment of your life, you've just been involved in a lethal force encounter, you're sitting in Kayla Giles' shoes, which, I don't know what size shoes she wears. So I don't doubt my big old 10.5 gumboats would fit in there. But anyway, you're in her shoes and you're thinking, okay, I've got this policy I pay for, a pretty good amount each year, a platinum member, that they're going to take care of my legal expenses. Because, I mean, she's going through a divorce. She's living in a hotel or a condo or whatever. This chick probably doesn't have, I'm not trying to be demeaning, but this young lady typically may not have a couple $100,000 laying around to pay for an attorney in what is now a second-degree murder trial. Yeah, that gets pricey. Experts get pricey. Most of the time, unless you're a member of Bronca's Law of Self-Defense, your attorney can't afford him. And even if he can afford him, he might not be able to get on his schedule. Mr. Bronca is quite well compensated for his time and quite hard to get a hold of. But he's also one of the leading national experts. So, you're sitting there trying to have your attorney, who is now either what you can afford or a public defender, indigent defense fund. You lost your high-priced mouthpiece and you've got them. And I'm not throwing rocks at their attorney. Like I said, I think they did a decent job. But Kayla should never have been dependent on that. Kayla had an insurance policy that was given to her as part of her membership. They advertise it. They've got your back. Yeah. They didn't have Kayla Giles back. I'll just say that. Now, when this comes out, and you've got Andrew Bronca, Dan at Heavy Duty Country, Attorneys for Freedom or Attorneys on Retainer, which is Mark Victor and Andy Marcantel, the two big spokespeople on there. Rachel Moss also makes regular appearances on their channel. You can check all this stuff out on all their channels after you finish with this video, of course. Folks, there's some stuff there. And this got ugly. It went from bad to worse. This made me question USCCA a little bit. But here's where it gets worse. USCCA responded to the heat they were getting in the 2A community in a video, which has since been removed, but Tim Schmidt, their founder and CEO, pretty much trashed one of their members. He came out because everybody was talking about this, saying, is USCCA going to leave me hanging? Well, he came out, and one of his quotes from the video is directly, let's see here. There was a time when it became very clear, very, very clear, and I mean perfectly clear, that a member had committed premeditated murder. Yeah. This was published within days of all the videos criticizing them about not backing up Kayla Giles. Oh, by the way, her trial had not started yet. Here we have Tim Schmidt, founder of USCCA, coming out saying something like that about one of their members. She is waiting trial, and what is happening? The organization, USCCA, that she had paid for a platinum membership, I think it's $500 a month, not sure, is coming out making statements like that. Now, I don't think he named her in the video, but yeah, I think we can all talk about that jolly fat man who comes down the chimney in November without saying Santa Claus, and we all freaking know. To me, that video, which has since been removed, but it's been saved by a lot of people, that video was the most disgusting thing I have seen in a long time. I get, bro, Tim, you wanted to defend yourself and USCCA for a decision that you didn't make, by the way. Delta Defense, that other insurance company over there, made it. You want to defend USCCA, you're taking massive heat. I get it. You attack the victim, Tim. You know, you can say, look, this is an ongoing case. We have no comment about it. We'll make a comment when we can. You can come out and say, don't jump to conclusions. You haven't seen everything. But to come out and say there was a time when it became very, very clear, and I mean perfectly clear, that a member had committed premeditated murder. Well, premeditated murder is first degree. They couldn't even make that charge. They dropped it to second degree. So even the prosecutor didn't think that about Miss Giles. Nice to know you and your insurance company did. Now, I had questions about USCCA prior to that video. I watched that video and I imagined, again, what it would be to be in Kayla's shoes, sitting there, your trial's about to start. You're paying these people money and they're talking like this online? Wow. Needless to say, I'm not a member of USCCA any longer. Imagine that. And this, again, plenty of reasons. Now, again, their educational content is pretty damn good. I will say that. And if you are out there and you're looking for something for educational content, more power to you. Their online learning platform, excellent. I've taken a lot of classes from there. I'm a RSO, range safety officer, from there. I've got all kinds of USCCA credentials. But I'm not going to want them anywhere near my defense if I'm, heaven forbid, involved in a lethal force encounter. And why is that? I don't want Tim Schmidt making a video like that about me. That video, to me, was the most disgusting thing I've seen in a while. I mean, literally, throw your girl under the bus, Tim. And remember, she's one of their platinum members. Yeah. And again, the video has since been removed from YouTube. So that lets you know how proud of that video they were. I think it was a knee-jerk reaction. I think it was stupid. And I wonder how things are going to pan out in the future, because I would not want to be USCCA if Miss Giles ends up acquitted on this. Now, as things go on, sorry, I'll take my mug out of it here. On January 29th of 2022, Kayla was convicted of second-degree murder. She was also convicted of obstruction of justice. Okay. Her attorney appealed it in October of 2023 to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, and her conviction was affirmed. Let's see. I can understand the thought of premeditated since he wanted to meet with PD and she didn't want the Walmart parking lot, but I don't agree with it since he approached her. Well, I'll tell you, Mary, where it sits with me. I don't know where the PD is, number one. I don't know, because I know the Walmart was supposed to be fairly close to her. Let's say, again, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I was not there. If she says, hey, I need to go do some grocery shopping. I need to get some stuff for the house. I need to get some dog food. Can you just meet me at Walmart? It'll be easier than running downtown. Possibly. I know here, to go to, our local grocery store, maybe 2-3 traffic lights away, whereas getting into the police department in the center of town, maybe a busy day on traffic day. I don't know. It's, meeting around noon. And I mean, as her attorney said, you're not, if you're going to commit premeditated murder, you're not going to go to a Walmart parking lot at high noon on a Sunday afternoon. Kind of crazy. Now, if she had said, okay, let's meet up on the parkway out in the middle of nowhere, I'd say, oh, okay, well, maybe there's something a little bit more hinky going on here. If she had said, hey, let's go meet up at that rest area on the interstate in the middle of the night, okay, maybe it was some kind of setup. Let's go meet at that old abandoned shopping center. Yeah. But a Walmart at noon in Alexandria, Louisiana, Mary, you can tell me, is that, to me, there's probably been more people there than there are at the PD. Now, again, I'm not at the point of saying Kayla is innocent or Kayla is guilty. She's been found guilty. I am saying, did she deserve a defense? Did she deserve the insurance that she had paid for? Did she deserve Tim Schmidt making that video about her? Let's say it was obviously pretty much cut and dry. Does she deserve Tim coming out and trying to save USCCA's bacon by throwing her under the bus when she's in a murder trial, looking at life in prison? You don't save yourself by throwing your platinum member under the bus, Tim. That was the one that really sealed my USCCA departure as, again, an instructor, as a member, And again, if they want to debate whether I am or not, trust me, I've got plenty of documentation. Spent plenty of money with them over the years. And always I won't say I enjoyed it, but I always felt I got value for my money. But I never wanted to be in a situation that Tim could make that video about me. And that bothered me. That video bothered me probably about as much as them dropping her. If they want to drop her, but do it quietly. Take the hit PR-wise. Don't try to save your own company's PR by throwing the chick under the bus, Tim. Man up, boy. Yeah. Now, this is the big development. On June 27th of 2025, the Louisiana State Supreme Court vacated her second-degree murder conviction. They said there were bad jury instructions and ordered it to be remanded back down to the trial court level because, guess what? New trial has been ordered. Now, this is really interesting and, gotten kind of wild because Kayla is now going to get a new trial. And the reason was because bad jury instructions. Now, I'm just going to play the devil's advocate here for a minute, and I know some of you all may think I'm crazy for saying this, but I'm going to go with it. If the reason she's getting a new trial is because of bad jury instructions, I wonder what would have happened if she had an attorney who was like a professional on self-defense laws and self-defense use of force. Do you think the jury instructions might have been better? Again, she was convicted. She was facing life plus 30 years, facing the rest of her life in a Louisiana jail. And yeah, now it's been overturned and they're coming back. And here's the issues with the jury instructions. This is where it gets interesting. One part was the jury was instructed that if they believed she was the aggressor, they can ignore self-defense based on the lack of innocence. However, at trial, there was absolutely no evidence presented that she was the aggressor. There was actually a video of this, and you can find the video online. It's not very good. The video was taken from a Sonic restaurant, I believe, across the way or across the street. It's grainy, it's distant, it's weak. I could have played the video on here. I looked at doing it. No. But there has been no argument by either side, the prosecution or the defense, that it didn't occur at her car. There has been nothing saying that she, let's see here. Okay, don't know who that is. Possibly getting a little bit of spam. I guess at some point when you're getting spam, you have reached some sort of pinnacle in your career. Woohoo! And again, this may be a somewhat secluded area. There's a lot of cameras at Walmart. To me, Walmart would be a relatively safe place. So, number one, if they thought she's the aggressor, they can ignore self-defense. But no evidence whatsoever was presented that she was the aggressor. So if there's no evidence presented she was the aggressor, that jury instruction should not have been given. Now, a good self-defense expert, I'm sure Mr. Bronca, would immediately catch that. Her attorneys did a decent job, and they've appealed this based on this. Secondly, in Louisiana, based on the Stand Your Ground law, again, something that had recently been passed, and this was the first case that was a vehicle-related Stand Your Ground law. This law states if somebody is in a stand your ground situation, which she was, their actions are presumed to be reasonably in fear of their life, of death, or great bodily harm. They're presumed to be a reasonable response. So, for example, in a stand your ground situation here in South Carolina, someone breaks into your house. You don't have to ask if they're just there to borrow a cup of sugar or to murder and rob you. They're just there because, they want to pet your dog. No. They're presumed to be a deadly threat in a stand your ground situation. So you're allowed to use deadly force in a stand your ground situation to, and I quote out of the law in Louisiana, stop unlawful entry. Okay. He's opening the door in her car. Unlawful entry. Stand your ground situation. Her response using deadly force is presumed to be reasonable under the law. That was never brought out in the jury instructions at all. Again, I'm not dogging out her attorneys. Perhaps if they were more familiar, less overworked, to me, this is a case where her first murder trial was mismanaged a little bit. Now, they've done good, and she has done further from there. She is getting retried. They're starting back from scratch. Fortunately for her, and I've got to show much respect to Andrew Mercantile and Mark Victor of Attorneys for Freedom, Attorneys on Retainer. They have agreed, even though she was not a member of their program, and they do have a program, Attorneys on Retainer, they have agreed to get in and either assist or take the lead on her defense. They're out of Arizona. They'll have to be pro hoc vice into Louisiana's court system. But she's got these guys on her side now, self-defense experts, because they even realized things were not good with this. The trial did not go, in their opinion, the way it should have. Now, if the judge is going to let you argue self-defense, the judge, the guy, black robe, or lady, black robe, sitting here gaveled. And your attorney says, yeah, it seems like it's a plausible self-defense argument to me. The only people who said it wasn't were Delta Defense, the insurance company contracted with USCCA. And then Tim Schmidt doubled down and said, oh, it's premeditated murder. It's perfectly clear. Well, apparently it's not perfectly clear to the Louisiana State Supreme Court, Tim. Apparently it's not perfectly clear to the attorney that y'all had hired on her behalf. Apparently it's not clear to Andrew Bronca. Apparently it's not particularly clear to Andy and Mark at Attorneys for Freedom or Attorneys on Retainer. Apparently it's not clear to me as a firearms instructor and a firearms owner for the last 25 plus years. But it was perfectly clear to the insurance company. Just say no, deny the claim. Just say no, deny the claim. Yeah, denying her claim may have denied her justice, may have denied her 3 years of her freedom. Now, here's the thing. Now she has already filed a lawsuit for the other $100,000. That has been held in abeyance for now until the criminal trial is over. But if she is found not guilty by reason of self-defense, and you denied her legal coverage, I hope she sues the hell out of y'all. And I know she's got a lot of attorneys willing to do it right now. Again, USCCA, their training, I've not found anything there I did not like. Some of it better than others, but overall did pretty well. As far as their handling of this incident, both the not covering her and then defending themselves by pushing her out there in front of the bus, absolutely disgusting and morally bankrupt. Now, that's my opinion. Drop me a note down in the comments. What do you think? Look at some of the videos. Check out Attorneys on Retainer. I have not got an affiliate link with them yet, but they're definitely worth checking into. I probably will be working on trying to establish some sort of affiliate discount link with them coming up soon. Check out Dan over at Heavy Duty Country. He is kind of like me, uninvolved, third-party firearms guy, watching all this go on, watching this mess happen. Check out Andrew Bronca and what he has had to say about the USCCA. It's been kind of interesting. Mr. Bronca, I've followed him for ages. I not only have bought some of his books because I have them in my classroom. When I teach concealed carry, I've got his posters in my classroom. And I go through everybody when I'm teaching concealed carry. Definitely worthwhile. So again, we have this go on. I'm not necessarily 100. I can't fault USCCA for denying coverage. That was Delta Defense or whoever. I can fault USCCA for Tim Schmidt's message. That one, you got to own that, brother. Sorry. And again, I like their stuff. I've got a stack of their books here. I've got Defensive Shooting Fundamentals 1 and 2. I've got AR-15. I've got Concealed Carry, Home Defense Fundamentals. I've got Countering the Mass Shooter Threat. I've used their materials. I've been an instructor for them. But man, this one was not a good look, Tim. Not a good look at all. And again, there was a lot of ways you could have handled this, but this one was not a good one. Folks, that is my big one for the day. I'm sorry I haven't been around much more. There is a plan on coming out with some stuff in the next few weeks. Definitely working on some stuff about the NFA drama that's gone on recently. And from that standpoint, all I can say is that, give me a little bit of time. Please bear with me. I don't want to just make content for the sake of making content. Well, I'm just looking on the screen right now. If you look directly above my head, that is my USCCA Range Safety Officer patch right there. Yeah, I did a lot with USCCA for a lot of years. Classes are good, but I never want to be on the receiving end of what Tim Schmidt did to her. That was completely uncalled for. Absolutely disgusting. So that's where we're going to wrap it up for today. Folks, I appreciate y'all coming out. There's going to be a stream or a pre-recorded video coming out in the next day or so regarding the NFA stuff that went through in the One Big Beautiful Bill and now coming out through the One Big Beautiful Lawsuit. There's going to be some interesting stuff there. In the meantime, like I said, check out Dan over at Heavy Duty Country, what he has had to say about USCCA. Check out, Andrew and Mark. Check out their interview with Kayla Giles. Now, I ain't saying Kayla's an angel. She ain't. I ain't giving her the halo and the wings yet. No. But I'll be damned if I'd want to be in her shoes with Tim Schmidt going out there saving himself and his video about it's very clear it's premeditated murder. Really? Really, Tim? Thanks. Oh, well. He's the founder and the president of that company. He can do what he wants. In my opinion, he shot himself in the foot. From my perspective, not covering Kayla, and there's other cases out there that have come up, but this one, with the fact that the Supreme Court has just reversed it based on jury instructions in error, which were jury instructions that a hardcore self-defense attorney would know, it's looking more and more like, now, if she's found guilty again, okay. She may be. I don't know. I'm worried less about the shooting than more about how they handled it. That's me. Folks, y'all have a wonderful day. Please be smart, be safe. Check out those videos. Check out Bronca's stuff. Bronca has had a lot to say about USCCA, and I extremely, extremely trust Mr. Andrew Bronca. He's a brilliant man, brilliant attorney, and, all I can say is, as far as Tim, I got this to say.
Go fuck yourself. But go fuck yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is.
Yeah, I think that kind of covers it. Because now that the Supreme Court has said that there were bad jury instructions and she's being retried, let's see how this plays out. I want to see how it goes on with a little bit better defense. All righty, folks. Well, y'all have a wonderful evening. Take care of yourself. Bye.